there was too much silence in our lives. So they invented the computer. Do you remember the Cold War? Do you remember Threads? It was on TV. It was in Sheffield, and a nuclear bomb went off, and they were fighting in the supermarket. The day after was another film, but they were strangely in competition. Threads on the one hand, the day after on the other. Betamax, VHS, ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64. It was good being 11 in the Cold War. Every day the threat of absolute annihilation, but no worries, they gave us some advice. If you paint your front door white and put it at 45 degrees against the wall, you will be saved from nuclear annihilation. Now, I am not a particle physicist. I am not even knowledgeable enough in that field to know whether particle physicist is even the right term for someone who would know about that. I have a certain level of naivety there, but I also think that the bombs they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which was, I think, certainly one of them, the aeroplane was rather poetically called the Enola Gay. Nice sort of, it's like a labia of nuclear death, just sort of bubbles it out, just sort of like gives life through death, because that's what the narrative was, of course. Dropping I think there were atom bombs, something hideous and beyond what humans should be able to create in terms of its devastating power. And they said that ended the Second World War, which maybe it did, but that's what happened. And they say that like it's a justification, which it is, because we've invented morals and we can move around in them how we please. But it probably did. Regardless, if they say it did, they are happy to say that. So there comes a time when dropping these bombs, and what they do, from what I remember from Threads and the day after, so I'm only going back a cute 33 years, was that there's like this huge explosion where atoms are being blown to pieces via nuclear fission, is it? Or is that how you make power? I don't know, it's a fusion of fission, isn't it? And then so I think I know enough about it to tell you how hideous I think it'll be, which is my intention. So sit back, take yourself back to Threads. Do you remember she was in the aisle of the supermarket? She said, "Oh no!" And she wet herself, and they were sort of piling tins of dog food into their basket. Anyway, I remember working out on the map that where I was, if they dropped it on central London, I was almost certainly going to have my skin burnt from my skeleton in like a little whisper from the devil explosion. Sorry, Chris. See you later. If I was a superhero, that's what I'd go with. I'd go with the burn nuclear breath. And I'd have to make sure the person who organises the secret powers was aware of what I meant with that. I wouldn't want it to be like a like a simile. Wouldn't it be descriptive? Oh, your breath is nuclear. Not like that. Not halitosis. But just so that someone, if they piss me off, but really piss me off, I wouldn't burn the skin off of someone who didn't really piss me off. They'd have to be pretty bad, actually. I'm not really into pun. Anyway, look, let's imagine I was an arsehole and I had to, well, it doesn't take that much imagination, which might suggest I am fighting my true self. As I tread the eternal wheel of Buddhism, striving for the middle path, bearing the fruits of the noble truths, am I actually the sort of person who fantasises about cerning someone? Sorry, mate, it's time to go. Breath burning someone off with nuclear breath. Bearing in mind there'd be a group of people around them, perhaps. Probably best for, if you're going to burn someone's skin off, I'd suggest an alleyway away from cameras. But let's assume it was, well, you know what, with half-lives and that, it could be anywhere. My point being, actually, if you'd have some patience, bear with me. You came to me, remember? Right. There'd be a group of people around them, or not, who would get poisoned from the radiation, which means when they go into that area 30 years later, they step through it as humans, and as they pass through it, they come out the other end with superpowers. And that's how I became Nuclear Breath Man. And in the stories from Nagasaki, the survivors, out there they've got what's the song? I went for it, didn't I? And I didn't go for it with confidence. I didn't go with gusto. My opening gambit was weak. Enola Gay, you should have stayed at home yesterday. There you go. I think it's OMD, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Enola Gay, you should have stayed at home yesterday. Understatement. You should have stayed at home yesterday because the war was ended with the blood of millions of Japanese people for years to come. Must have been another way around it. It just must have been. But there's down there's still like pictures of people, like monographs. What would you call them? Perhaps a monograph, some kind of photograph. Really, that's a light image, isn't it? Of them like running, and that when the explosion, they were far away enough not to get torn to pieces or not. See you later, Japanese man. But that's trouble. Not like nuclear breath, but a proper explosion. Like I say, I think it was an atom bomb. Just painful, but yeah, painful. It hurt. Oh man, that atom bomb's really done me up. Got a bit of shrapnel off an atom bomb. It killed me through 7 generations of leukemia. There's these photographs of people on the wall where the light, their shadow around them was burnt into the wall. Yeah, they're still there. In some of the eyewitness accounts, not just their eyes were there, but their whole bodies. But in their accounts, they said that knives and forks and blades of grass and twigs and things became like arrows zooming through the air and puncturing your skin. So my point is, that was a fucking weird time to grow up. The Cold War. I had a mate once and he said to me, "Hey, where was the Cold War?" In fairness to him, he has then spent probably the last 10 years absolutely educating himself on all manner of world affairs, and it's amazing. I'm very proud of him. Going back to Fred, though, the other thing, I don't know if I've already spoken about this in a podcast, but I think my listeners are much like me and can't actually remember what I said one sentence ago, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. We should actually call this the Goldfish Cast, the Gold Cast, the Fish Cast, casting for fish. I'm a fisherman. Look at me. Do you like angling, Bob? Oh, I do. That's a nice reel, isn't it? Yes, look at the action. What you had in, I think we're looking at 94. So imagine the scene. So not only have you got Threads, not only have you got the day after, but, early 80s, I'll put it into that sort of semi-decade. Oh, it's decadism. There's no such thing as the 80s. I mean, it's a free-flowing rhizomic entity. Listen, the early 80s, I'm talking Adam and the Ants, a new royal family, a wild nobility, we are a family. I put a white line over my nose and I went to my judo lesson and the bloke said, "Excuse me, Chris, why have you got a white line over your nose?" And I went, "I'm going to a fancy dress afterwards." And he let me because it was probably embarrassed for me. I just wanted to be adamant and not a jiu-jitsu. But around that time, so Adam and the Ants, and then you got Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Now, I've met Holly Johnson. I've had some lovely times. I'll tell you what happened. I'd done a gig once at some do, and he was there, and after I performed, they put me on one of the tables, and I was there, and Boy George, and Holly Johnson. I was like in a big gay 80s sandwich. Quite nice, though. They were lovely people. And got to talk to Holly Johnson, which is amazing, because this was a man who went, "Oh!" loads of times in the 80s. "Oh!" And wrote all those amazing songs like Relax, which the BBC banned and everyone bought. Do you remember? Relax, don't do it. And what is it? And there's a bit where everyone, unless you've read the lyrics, you think it goes, "Working for the black man." And when you're on your own, you'd happily sing that. You'd just be going, "Don't do it when you want to come, working for the black man." And then when you're in a group, though, everyone's going, "Working for and no one knows it. Is that the song I'm thinking? Have I got the right song? I think I have. But I might be thinking of Two Tribes, but that's the one I want to talk about, because look at that. That song's got no relevance anywhere else. You play it to a kid now, they're not going to get it. But you've got, I think, isn't it Reagan and Gorbachev, or Thatcher and Reagan? I think it's Reagan and Gorbachev. It's the big Cold War, the big boys, the old firm. You've got Ronald Reagan, you've got his missus who's saying just say no to drugs. And if you don't know this, the aim of the drugs war, which had its seeds in her mad campaign, wasn't to stop people taking street drugs or recreation, whatever you mean. They honestly thought, they wrote it down as policy, they were going to eradicate leisure drug use from the planet. Absolute insanity. Throughout history and complete geography, human cultures have used intoxicants and celebrated it and made art about it and music about it. And it is the glue that at once sticks our society together and stops it moving. But you can't do that. So that's going off. And Reagan is, if you're a young listener, and that's unlikely because this is like a dying perpens. It's a dying perpen, which if you don't know what it is, have a look on the Wikipedia. What the fuck was I talking about? You can see why that's difficult. 2 tribes. It's got no play. Oh yeah, you're talking to a youngster, and they wouldn't mean anything to them. But you've got the 2 world leaders, and yeah, that's it. Reagan, he's actually come out. He's named and shamed himself by saying, "I'm going to build a Star Wars program." This is real. This is only a few years after the film come out. I mean, it's nuts. It's like a president today sort of saying, I'm going to make the world like Sonic the Hedgehog. Even that's like 20 years old. I haven't played a computer game in years. I'll tell you what, it's like saying the world's going to be FIFA 16. Something like that. It's Star Wars. It's a film. And he starts telling people that he's going to be able to shoot nuclear missiles out of the air. He absolutely is. And then there's all these documentaries on it, and they're saying the Star Wars program, it is estimated it would need 47 billion pages of code just to get it working. And then here is the code, we put it, and they'll put like 1 million books out in a field and go, it will take this amount of code to make the... Yeah, just nonsense. I stressed the code thing because I was aware the first time I said it in my exceptionally good American accent. I went code, and you're probably thinking, what? Code is what I meant. I meant code. I'm not going to edit that out because it's very late, and I think it's too much perfection can damage a podcast. Yeah. So I scatter these mistakes away. I put them out there. Balance. Let things balance themselves out. Star Wars, he reckons he's going to shoot nuclear missiles out of the air. Now, a few years before, 20-odd, you got the Cuban Missile Crisis. Be surprised in how many people don't know what it is. Cuba, little island off America, communist revolution. The Americans thought they had nuclear missiles on there, meaning the Cold War would be over in about 5 minutes because they could just pop them over the water and blow them up. Terrifying. That kind of dragged on for years and culminated in what I'm talking about. Now he's going to shoot the fucking things out of the sky. Absolutely mad. So 2 tribes, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Look it up on YouTube. If you are of my generation or older, have a listen to it. It brings back massive memories. It's insane. So they're fighting the 2 world leaders, not the real ones, like actors, and they're sort of in this sort of like like a bare knuckle fighting pit. It looks a bit more like a dog pit, and there's like all people around them gambling, like what are supposed to be, I guess, oligarchs. And all that. I think Thatcher might be there somewhere, and all this, the corporations will throw money and they're fighting, but the music, like 2 tribes go to war, but at the beginning it goes dun 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 dun. It's got this real dark sort of this sad chorus, and then it goes something like, I don't know if the sound comes in, and there was this sort of mythology at the time, like a goodwill gesture of the powers that be, that there'd be a 3-minute warning. Right? It was insane because no one knew where these things might be, where the loudspeakers were, who pressed it, what had to happen for them to choose to press it. Okay, while I'm on it, Nena, remember Nena, German singer, brought out a song, Nantvet Neinfen Slaftballan or something, 99 Red Balloons, sung it in English. And it was like 99 red balloons floating in the summer sun. And that was about a nuclear war. And what happened was someone floated some red balloons, and the powers that be, being so stupid and pissed up on capitalism, thought it must be a nuclear attack. Let's fire some missiles. And then the enemy, the Russians, fired back as well. Soviets, should I say. And so, 99 red balloons. That's coming out alongside 2 tribes. Isn't it strange what's happening? And 2 tribes, and it goes, wah! It goes, when you hear the sound, Holly Johnson comes in, and he was so cool in his sort of scouse with his little tiny hair and his funny shaped head, and it's fucking mad. That was, and at the end, dun dun, it's all over. So you got pop music coming about it. There was things like on television, how to survive it, like climb under your bed and like, and then what is it? What's it called? Wind. Come on, tell me. Let's work. This is I call this trans Chronos synchronicity. Let's go. Can't remember what it's called. This is annoying because there's a cartoon. Is it Raymond Briggs? I think the bloke that done Sungus Safagiman. I think it was Raymond Briggs. Let's have a look. Raymond Briggs. He is an author and cartoonist. There you go. When the Wind Blows, he done Fungus the Bogeyman, which I had some posh people we knew gave it to me and I loved it. And he was a dirty man that went around at night getting dirty and giving people boils. Sound familiar? And he done When the Wind Blows, and it was about this sort of naive couple who were trying to survive a nuclear winter. So that was, and it was weird. They started off all healthy. Oh, come on, the explosion didn't kill us. Let's put some water into the garden and into the larder, and then their air starts falling out and they die because you can't survive a nuclear winter. Oh, well, you can. I don't know what it is. Nuclear summer wouldn't be too bad, especially if you breathed it and removed the bikinis from a million women and gentlemen who choose to wear bikinis. What a time though, frightening. I was so scared of it. The documentaries that they put on telly, the stuff about it always. There was another one I think filmed in Rochester. What a time to grow up though, man. Fucking Cold War. In many ways, you know what I might do? I might, for a laugh, for a little fuck about, I might apply for post-traumatic stress disorder sustained whilst a civilian combateer in the Cold War. Am I onto a winner? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Remember the Warriors? Baseball Furies. I went as a baseball fury to a party once, and it wasn't a fancy dress, and I was there, proper effort. I thought effort equals birds, proper effort, all the face paint and that. I even cut the arms off my favourite pair of pyjamas and the legs and drew lines down them to have the baseball sort of outfit, little baseball cap. Wasn't allowed to take a real baseball bat, so I kind of had my symbolic sausage snipped at the exit to my house when I had to take a plastic baseball bat. Not such a baseball fury, more absolute baseball bastard. An absolute baseball bastard. I need some water. You absolute baseball bastard. Call people that if you want. Credit me though. Talking of sayings, unfortunately Arsenal failed to serve a pickle bastard to Chelsea today. That put me on a bit of a downer, but not so much. If they were rivals, I'd have been like, grrr, you Chelsea racist cunts. But they're not. They're 13th. We're joint second, so no real dramas. Time to leave, boys. I'm sorry if you support Chelsea. You won, so you're also enjoying the day, so everyone's happy. Why would you take that away from the situation? Why would you come back at me and go, nah, 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 nah? Because you were happy you won, and I didn't give a shit. And so that's all right. Please. I'm trying to think of other... Please. Trying to think of other... Stop it. Do you know how to stop it? Do you know how to stop it? Do you know how to stop it? I have not got a clue what I was talking about. You know what? Sometimes I think I don't have the requisite skills to do a podcast. It would seem... apparent, it would seem obvious, there you go, another, wrong word, completely wrong word. So two things have shown themselves. A failure to remember what I'm discussing on a format which is essentially just me discussing. There's nothing else to it. It's me saying words. So if I can't remember what I've already said, and if I choose to use the wrong words, that doesn't bode well for being very good at a podcast, does it? There are two things that you think, no, you're not made out for. In fact, I'd suggest mime, like almost the opposite. Not talking and absent, but silent and present. I have correctly identified the binary opposite of the podcast simulacrum. It's mime. Who likes mime? You know Marcel Marceau, the most famous mime artist in the world, isn't he, yeah? Of course he is. Name one other. Now, I don't want the comedians here to go, what about Dr. Brown? No, your comedy world is tiny. No one knows this person. Comedians and people who regularly go to comedy do, but he's not a Louis C.K., he's not Charlton Heston. Sometimes I surprise myself in a way that gives me a proper belly. It was an extrovert on the whole. I liked skiing like the ladies, would sometimes have a liquid lunch, But I don't know, on the whole, great guy, and will be surely missed around here. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Yeah, I know, yeah. No, I didn't know that, right. I'm trying to think of other songs from the Cold War. I might put an album together as part of my application for post-traumatic stress disorder as a civilian combatant of the Cold War. I think we all could say that. I have been in and out of mental hospitals. That's what rehab is, isn't it? They love saying it. You know, like I'm using it here to make the gel of the story more like a two-part epoxy gel, something that's going to keep the story together. So I'm allowed. But in rehab, they like saying that. You'll be chatting to someone, just normal, having your breakfast, feeling a bit cold, you know, all that rehab stuff, and they'll go to you. It's basically just a mental hospital, isn't it? Every rehab, and it's double figures. Someone said it. Probably, you know what, most days. I mean, really, we're just mental patients. It's like, oh, yeah, no, we're not. Because if we were, there wouldn't be such a thing as a rehab because you just go to the mental house. This is not a mental home. Silly. Good fun, though. Good fun. I know that I meant to say, I suppose it's expected for me to say that it's been awful, but the withdrawing is, but, you know, let's be realistic. I was at one rehab for 12 weeks. And it was only seemingly unbearable for about a week. It was just hideous for a lot of it. But the rehab's great, man. You go. This is something I learned. Don't go 10-pin bowling with anyone who's been to rehab more than 5 times because they will spin that ball, strike your 10 down. Is it 10? But all of them, and the lane next to you, and the ball would roll back and iron your cuffs if you were quick to undo your cufflinks and lay your shirt down on the wood. All in one ball because they do it every rehab. It's wicked, and everyone knows it's not a surprise when they go, okay, it's a fun activity now, or like what do they call it, a bonding time. And you're like, yeah, and they go, right, we're going to, and no one, they sort of like to keep it a secret, so you all get in the van, it's like, where are we going? And then the rumour going, oh, we're going bowling, oh, we're going to the Owl Sanctuary. I've done that, I've done the go-karts, the Owl Sanctuary, 10-mile walk, that was nice, just left a detox, so proper red raw, the first day you're allowed to have a detox, which at the time was only 16 days, not even, awful, straight into rehab, and then sent on a 10-mile walk with them while I was on my hands and knees in the mud. You do you good. And what else? The Owl Sanctuary, though. But the weird thing is, it's quite gross because you're so vulnerable. You're so vulnerable and like ready to you don't want to argue or cause any trouble. So you're at the Owl Sanctuary and you're sitting there and they go, are you alright, Chris? And you're like, and you're being, and I should really talk about me. And I'm there and I'm sort of going, the birds are so free and without problem. And I'm allowed to say that because I've just had 3 weeks of drawing and I'm trying to come back to a world that's unfamiliar and daunting, to say the least. And but the therapists, the people that hang around with you, which is weirdly like, they're funny places, rehabs, anything where they can get out of doing any work and get an ex-patient to do volunteer work because it's good for you, it's part of your treatment. No shit, man. They get people who are like a year clean. Every rehab this is, I'm not putting it on one, they get someone who's about a year clean. I've seen them do like 6 months. Oh, can you take all the spastics out on Friday afternoon and to eat pizzas? And it's like chimpanzees tea party at Pizza Hut. And it's sort of 6 months clean, but going, oh, come on, stop it, come on, that's not very spiritual, is it now? But the bowling, yeah, don't do it. Don't play ping pong. Don't play table tennis with anyone who's done longer than a year in prison, because they will just, they won't even look at you. They will do something like a convict, like you'd expect of a convict, like make a roll up or something, or sort of kick a tin can down an alleyway, and they'll be playing ping pong with their other hand while you're just going like darting all over the place. And they've also managed to do one of those flashy sort of oriental grips. I had a few of them in my time, and like they're holding the racket, yeah, and aren't they doing those serves where they throw it up in the air and you're you sort of watching it going, oh, what's he going to do? Gone. So don't do that. Don't involve yourself in that. No. Yeah. So there's a comedian. Well, she's not. She calls herself a comedian. I'll tell you what she is. She's one of these products of an invisible filter system that goes on in a lot of the creative arts, where we don't actually have quotas, but you sort of do. And she does her bit as a sort of, I don't know, sort of post-grad posh but a bit edgy sort of thing. But she turns out to be mainly an opportunist, and she'll turn up anywhere. You cannot invite this woman somewhere and she won't arrive and do her spiel. And she's insane. I done a show. I might have told you about this before, but I didn't even fucking do the show. You have to apply for the Edinburgh Festival about 10 years ahead. Well, it's a few months, but it feels like... Anyway, so I put my show in and I thought, fuck it, I'll tell a lot of horror stories. And so I put the show in, how I spent 150,000 on Chinese prostitutes. That was it. The show didn't exist. I hadn't written it, I hadn't performed it, nothing. Someone writes to her on the internet, this woman, Janet Kent, I think her name was. She works for some woman's thing somewhere. She wrote to this woman, her name's Kate. She'll get wind that I'm talking about her, and her ego is so massive you can actually see it protruding out the top of her head. That might sound nasty, making a joke out of someone's normal appearance, but I, for instance, and I'm happy to say it, I have got to deal with traditional, very handsome looks, and that is my own cross to bear. And if you people, the people that you represent, Kate, and the nonsense you spout, if you people actually believed in diversity, you'd understand that I've suffered because people expect something of me. They see my beautiful, handsome face, and they then expect me to be some kind of sex machine. Luckily, I've also got that in the box. But anyway, I just wanted to level things out there when I was saying that you can see your ego coming out the top of your embryonic forehead. I put this on Twitter then, I think I put it in the programme, so I went in the Edinburgh Fringe programme, and this woman, she wrote to Kate on Twitter in public forum, not in a private message. I haven't hacked anything, this was all for everyone to see. She said, have you seen this show that's on at the festival? What do you think about that? And Kate wrote back going, well, I can't remember exactly, but I think I'll do a good enough job of summing up. It was along the lines of, unfortunately, it's an open access festival. I might have added unfortunately, but it's an open access festival, and if I had my way, this show wouldn't be on. Now, that's not her responding to me as the quality of my work. I don't get the impression that woman was saying, have you heard about Chris Dangerfield? He's shit and he's doing a show. And she wrote back going, nah, he's shit. If I had my way, wouldn't know. It was because it was the title involved prostitution, which they assumed must be bad. That's got to be bad in every way, not just prostitution as a thing, but doing a show about it. I mean, that comedy is going to be dangerous. They made that agreement. Obviously it was. I mean, it's impossible to talk about prostitution in any other way. Surely, I wonder why. Maybe because I'm a man. I don't know. But the fact that I hadn't even written the fucking show or even performed it, I could have got on stage and gone, prostitution is bad. The point is, what she does, Kate Smurthwaite, his name is, what she does is she tries to silence people. She was on some BBC programme. She's on them all the time, those sort of daytime pissed and stoned people sitting at home eating fucking biscuits with their beer, watching it thinking, oh, I wish they'd shut up. She's on there, and Milo you know him, as whatever it is, he's on there, and she's literally telling Nicky Campbell, we all loved Nicky Campbell in the 80s. Remember, he used to play the Velvet Underground and the Smiths and that, and he opened my mind to loads of new music, which was nice, because apart from that, it was the Cold War. And he was taking it, and she was going, get the camera off him. Get the camera off him. Why are you giving him airtime? Because you see, what they think is, and this is why they're nuts, they think because they disagree with you, because they think they're right, which is a position we can all have, I get that. From time to time I can think I'm right. I don't often. I try and make my position quite plastic. But she thinks because she disagrees with you that you should not be able to talk. That's why she was trying to get the camera off Milo. Why are you giving him airtime? Why not? Just because you don't agree with someone, it's nuts. It's like, it's really, really censorship. You don't agree, so they shouldn't talk. You know best, and that is nuts. And there was another one. I was meant to be on a panel show with her, and I've turned up, and she went, "No, he's a misogynist. I'm not doing it." Again, she doesn't agree with me, so she's stamping her feet. "I'm not doing it if he's doing it. No." And the bloke that runs it's my ex-boyfriend. Oh, ridiculous. One of the other panels on, they went to me, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it either. I've had enough of her. She's been telling us what jokes we can't and can say after hearing our sets." They want to showcase with her. So the idea of silencing people just because you don't agree with them is you're on the way to a totalitarian state. That's what you lot are doing. You're trying to get people on the internet not allowed to sort of say, "Fuck off, you cunt." Why not? Let them say what they want. Just block them. It's nonsense. Taking them to court, send them to prison. It's harassment. Fucking harassment. If you want to see women being treated badly, go to Islam. Oh, but you can't see that. When you look around the horizon to try and find sexism, you come up with the wage gap that doesn't exist. Look it up. Women make different choices. And what's the most recent one? You can look anywhere around the world and see where women are being oppressed and treated so horrifically. And you come up with the Oxford English Dictionary. Oh, look at this. It says, in describing Rabid, she was a rabid feminist. That's a positive thing. If someone said I was a rabid comedian, I'd be absolutely over the moon. No, but you moved Islam to the side, yeah, and you saw the Oxford English Dictionary. You're too scared to jump on Islam. That's what happened in Cologne. 1,000 immigrants went round. There's a name for it. There's a name for it in the Arab world. I can't remember it now. But they surround women and sexually abuse them. That's what happened. One was raped, but no one's talking about it because they're so scared of coming across as racist. But you can't be racist. They were Muslims. It's not a race. You're crazy. And the problem is, because no one's talking about it, the far right are getting all the airtime. And we know what happens when the far right get the airtime. We've seen it before. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're going, because the left has lost its bollocks and it's not talking about anything because it's been fucking terrified by lunatics like that Smurfwaite and all those other Nazis who are trying to silence people. And they're shit scared of upsetting the people they've pretended to be defending, whereas actually they're just opportunist weirdos. That woman, she turned up at Sebastian Ornsley's funeral. We had a horse-drawn carriage. She had a placard saying, "Oh, where's the horse-drawn carriage for the victims of prostitution?" Ridiculous. Answer to that question in the same horse-drawn carriage rental shop. And the irony being, Sebastian loved the prostitute, so after his death, they're actually a bit out of pocket, so they might not be able to get the horse-drawn carriage. Yeah. She said in her blog about it, "I didn't think there'd be many people there, or the media might turn up." Oh, did you fuck? Who, what, you were, if in that case, if you didn't think that people were going to be there, who was your placard for? Literally, family and friends of Sebastian. So you think they deserve to be asked that question? How dare you have this man as a son? How dare you be friends with this man? He's dead. And you're still in there. You've got different ideas as other people. That's good. But you don't silence them. Stupid. I'm going now. I hope you've enjoyed listening to Dangerfield's Sunday Prescription. Number 31. We've got some really good things coming up. I am interviewing Mercedes Carrera, American porn star. You might know her from the Evil Angel series. I think she's part of Brazzers. She's getting busy doing all sorts of things. And I mean that, not just what you think. And I think that's going to be really interesting. Facebook me some questions if you want to talk about, if you want to ask Mercedes Carrera a question. I might get Trevor Locke on the podcast soon. It's been lovely talking to you. You can now listen to this podcast on YouTube and LibSyn. It's back on LibSyn. I got about 190 of my old listeners back. I'll be honest with you, this podcast averages about 350 listeners. Some of the episodes have now been downloaded over 1,500 times, but that's my average listener on a weekly basis. Turn the bass up, Chuck. I drive my bike. I like it. Yeah. The road is always steeper on the way back. I like to play around with the cymbal. I make instruments out of my life. I'm a living orchestra. Will you love me? I like the weather in Paris. They're singing songs to skeletons in Rome. I like to play it, don't you like to say it? We got corkscrews coming out of our eyes. We bought our jumpers in a shop in Martinstown. See you later. Much later.